Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Back to Iraq. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. After being embarrassed over the ISIS debacle in Syria and Iraq, President Obama is now sending 450 additional U.S. troops to Iraq. As you know, the problem is America failing to diminish the ISIS terror group, which is growing in power. Earlier this week, the president told the world he still doesn't have a plan to defeat the jihadists.
When a finalized plan is presented to me by the Pentagon, then I will share it with the American people. It's not, we don't yet have a complete strategy because it requires commitments on the part of the Iraqis as well. The details of that are not yet worked out.
Now, after that statement, the Factor and some other media outlets roundly criticized the president. Also, some members of Congress extremely troubled, including the powerful Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat from California in the Senate. To restate, there's no excuse in the world, none, why the U.S.A. does not have a plan to defeat these savages. But the hard truth is, despite ISIS expanding into at least 5 countries, President Obama has dithered and failed to lead the world against these mass murderers. It's estimated that ISIS and other jihadist groups have executed more than 10,000 human beings, many of them beheaded or burned alive. As Talking Points has stated before, this is Nazi stuff. There's no difference in mentality between the ISIS group and the Third Reich. They both believe they're entitled to slaughter human beings at will. In the 1930s, the world did not stop Hitler and his mad regime. The result, more than 50 million dead in Europe, including innocent men, women, and children slaughtered in concentration camps. The Holocaust, as it's known, was perhaps the worst atrocity in mankind's history. So I have a question for you. Do you think ISIS would perpetuate another Holocaust if it could? Of course they would. These savages don't have any remorse and would kill anybody that doesn't believe the way they do. President Obama, right now, is practicing CYA. And that's not a song by the Village People. He's sending a few hundred more military personnel to Iraq, bringing the total to just under 4,000. But Iraq's the wrong place to confront ISIS. The real campaign should take place in Syria, where ISIS has command and control in the city of Raqqa. President Obama and whatever countries he can cajole to help us should go into Syria, take the city, destroy the infrastructure. At the same time, the Kurds who are fighting against ISIS should be directly armed with American weapons. They shouldn't have to go through Baghdad or anywhere else. Just give them to the Kurds. And the bombing campaign should continue inside Iraq and Syria. That's a plan. Sending a few hundred more folks into Iraq because you're embarrassed, Mr. President? Not a plan. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight. Reaction joining us from Washington, Fox News strategic analyst Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. So let's advance the story. You heard him say, once the Pentagon gives me something. The Pentagon is the key. Aren't the generals and the defense people there embarrassed about what is happening here?
Well, the Pentagon's not the key. The key is the White House. The president decides, and the president has decided to take advice from his civilian advisors with no military experience rather than from serious military planners. Now, Bill, the problem at the Pentagon is at the very top, you have weak military leadership.
Like are you talking Dempsey?
Yeah, I'm trying, General Dempsey is a decent guy. He's been promoted above his capabilities. He doesn't have the strength of character or the vision to lead this fight with a difficult president.
Do you think he knows he looked weak, Dempsey, in that interview that we used in the cold open of this program, where you said, hey, you got anything to defeat ISIS? When they took Mosul? Oh. No. Look, here's what I don't understand. You're our strategic analyst, all right? Now, the way it's supposed to work is U.S. intel, CIA, and other agencies are supposed to provide the information to the military and the president because he's the commander-in-chief of the military. So every morning he gets a briefing. President Obama gets a briefing every morning. Here's what ISIS is doing. It's got to be the central part of all of the intelligence efforts right now. And you're telling me that the Pentagon and the president are just go, okay, let's go out to lunch, and they don't do anything for 2 years? It just seems like we're in the Twilight Zone. It seems impossible to believe that.
Well, I will tell you that the planners, from the planners to the pilots, the real soldiers, airmen, Marines, they know this is an absolutely screwed up situation. You cannot possibly defeat Islamic State with these airstrikes controlled by lawyers. Fundamental problems are this, Bill. One, Obama doesn't want to hurt anybody. He wants zero civilian casualties, and you can't get there. You just can't get there. And because he is unwilling to accept a limited number of civilian casualties as we go after Islamic State with airstrikes, he condemns millions of people, millions, to living under the tyranny and bloody-mindedness of the Islamic State. That's false humanitarianism. But I will also tell you this. You're absolutely right that the 400 to 450 new trainers is pure CYA.
Yeah,
because, Bill, as we both know, we've all heard the cliche.
Right.
That, you know, one definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, we've been trying to train the Iraqis over and over and over again, and it doesn't work. And now Obama wants to accelerate and give you the Cliff Notes version of the training. The fundamental issue is this. Islamic State's fighters, now veteran militants and very capable, it's a real military now, even though it doesn't look like ours, they are motivated. They will fight to the death for a cause they believe in.
Yeah, Krauthammer thinks they're going to do a Tet offensive in Baghdad just to embarrass the United States and the Iran as well. That's what that crowd.
Well,
but
they might.
They could. They're only a few miles away. But look, the bottom line is we have.
But they're also very good, Bill. They're very, very good.
Okay.
And that's what we refuse to recognize.
30,000 of them, Colonel. It's only 30,000 of them.
No, there's far more. No, that's BS. There are far more than 30,000.
In the field, all the intel estimates is 30,000.
In Syria, that's just not so, Bill.
You think how many do you think are fighting right now?
Nobody knows for certain. We try to spin it down. There are probably a good 60 to 70,000 or more in between Syria and Iraq.
You think that many?
And they come in different flavors. I do, but look at even if it was 30,000. Look at the Ramadi operation, which we're unwilling to do honestly. That was a brilliant operation, superbly planned,
they're fighting a war,
daring, executed.
And we're sitting it out.
Yeah, and we're not.
And we're not. It's as simple as that. All right, Colonel, as always,
okay.
Got to go. And if you were looking for a good Father's Day gift, Valley of the Shadow, the new Civil War novel from Colonel Peters, fits that bill.